In the 1000 subscriber special, I did a locomotive fleet update, and today I will finally do a rolling stock fleet update. This should take less time with fewer, less complicated models to cover, and I will once again go from the oldest to the newest, starting with the 2014 Pennsylvania Railroad P-54 Combine, the only survivor from my initial set of 3 similar cars. Said Combine eventually got refitted with bearing axles, and more recently finally got a full overhaul. I rationalized some of the internal construction, and I redid the ends without stickers and with more structural integrity, though I consider this more of a trade-off than a strict upgrade. While I like the idea of a combine because it can compress an entire train into one car, I may actually convert this into a P-54 coach with updated ends. I designed the flat car in 2014, even though I didn't build it until 2016. With this model, I figured out how to make the load-bearing skirts I would use on some later builds. Even then, R40 curves limit lengths to around 50 studs. As an older style of car, I don't run the flat car that much, but I like the idea of transforming static models that I never build into dynamic ones by displaying them while moving. The 2015 R50B Express Reefer appeared in a very early T1 compilation running with a geared PF drivetrain. While I designed it primarily for that use case, it ended up running with 9-volt power much more often. More recently, I mostly use it as a standard piece of unpowered rolling stock riding on bearing axles. This car and the P-54 Combine make up a train of older, shorter passenger cars, and I often run them together. I like the somewhat anachronistic nature of more modern style transfer cabooses like my 2017 Conrail N6A. The relatively short length also simplified construction, as the bogies and wheels don't need much lateral clearance. I originally built this model in clean blue with Conrail lettering, but I recently gave it some brick weathering and Nonsense Wars numbers, implying that it came secondhand from the former railroad. The 2017 Spine car also got a recent modification. I redid the side frames to increase their structural integrity. Unfortunately, this involved buying a bunch of expensive inverse slippers, but the bogies should fall apart less in transit. In the rare cases that it gets run, this model continues to do exactly what I wanted it to do. Form a long train with few parts, especially rare or expensive parts like wheels or magnets. The pair of weathered Trinity gondolas from 2019 are actually still some of my favorite freight cars. I think they strike a very good balance between good aesthetics, structural integrity, and operational convenience, and I don't say that for everything. The Spine car has terrible structural integrity and operational convenience. I haven't had to change the gondolas since I built them, and I don't think I will going forward. The two PRR P85 passenger cars from 2021 convinced me to upgrade the rest of my passenger fleet with bearing axles. We saw that they can have 10 times less friction than Technic axles, though R40 curves still generate a lot of resistance. Unfortunately, the bogies in the various freight cars don't lend themselves as easily to such a conversion. While I do find the P85s a little plain overall, I don't think I'll make any major changes at this point. I consider the 2022 Pullman baggage car another very well balanced model. I think it looks a little better than the P85s, and it runs a bit better due to its lighter weight and shorter length. I mainly don't like that the brackets supporting the railings protrude into the body, but I probably can't fix that without a new part. And ultimately, those elements remain hidden if the doors remain closed. Finally, a piece of rolling stock that has not appeared on the channel, or at least not explicitly. This camera car holds phones, usually my old iPhone 6, for point of view shots, though I don't use them that often. The fork can pitch and yaw using older 2x4 hinges and the newer 4x4 rounds with detents. I actually replaced an earlier 2-axle version with this 4-axle model to increase stability and reduce shaking. I wanted the rolling stock fleet to include enough material such that I could build a period-correct train for any of my locomotives. The prototypically new Siemens Charger probably fits in the worst, but it also postdates the second newest model, ironically the QJ, by 30 years. The prototypically oldest models all fit pretty well. On that note, this is the end of the video. Please consider subscribing if you like what we do, and have a nice day.